Welcome to the CALA Builders Podcast.
Glad to be here for this one.
So, if you own a home built before 1980 in California, there is actually a very high statistical probability that your 200-ton house is resting on its concrete foundation exactly like a heavy ceramic coffee cup resting on a slick plastic car dashboard.
Right.
Literally nothing is holding it down.
Well, I mean, gravity is holding it down.
Yeah.
But gravity only works vertically.
Right.
The moment that dashboard lurches sideways in traffic, you suddenly have a massive structural problem on your hands.
And that is exactly what we are tackling today. Our mission for this deep dive is uncovering the fascinating and honestly sometimes terrifying science of earthquake safety requirements for California homes.
Yeah, terrifying is a good word for it.
Right. We're looking at the actual physics of what keeps a house standing when the ground violently moves and how finding the right local team to manage those upgrades can make all the difference.
Which is huge.
Definitely. We're pulling from a detailed guide on seismic retrofitting, as well as the official service and team profiles from Cala Builders. They're a premier full-service construction and remodeling company serving Los Angeles County and beyond.
It's just an incredibly timely set of sources, especially, when you look at the sheer volume of aging real estate we have in the state.
It really is. So whether you are in the market for an older home, planning a major remodel, or maybe you're just sitting in your living room right now worrying about the next big tremor, this deep dive is your shortcut to being fully informed.
Absolutely.
It's all about what it takes to protect your property, your financial investment, and obviously your family.
Because before we can even talk about fixing a house, we really have to understand the mechanics of why it's failing in the first place. I mean, not every house behaves the exact same way when those seismic waves roll through.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because according to the research, your risk profile really comes down to a specific equation. It's the age of your home plus your foundation type. If your house was built before 1980, you are instantly in a higher risk bracket. Why that specific year, though?
Well, it has to do with how the building codes evolved. Prior to 1980, construction standards were heavily focused on vertical loads. Just holding the heavy house up against gravity.
Just keeping it standing.
Exactly. They simply didn't require strong, specialized anchoring between the wooden frame of the physical house and the concrete foundation it sat on.
Wow.
Yeah, and the highest risk falls on homes with a raised wood-framed foundation that have a crawl space underneath them.
Right, that empty, dark space between the dirt and the bottom floor of your house. And inside that crawl space, there are these, short wooden walls supporting the entire massive structure above. The sources referred to them as cripple walls.
Yes. They are called cripple walls because they are structurally stunted. They carry a tremendous vertical load, but they are incredibly weak when subjected to lateral or sideways forces.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the sobering reality highlighted in our sources is that over 1 million older California houses are currently at risk of just sliding right off their foundations, or having those cripple walls collapse entirely because they lack modern anchoring.
1 million homes. I mean, that is a staggering liability. So going back to our hook, is an unanchored house basically like a heavy cardboard box resting on a slick, polished table.
Basically, yeah.
The box holds all its weight perfectly fine until someone bumps the table, and because it isn't taped down, it just slides off.
You're close, but it's actually much more violent than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the table isn't just getting a gentle bump. Imagine the table is being violently ripped back and forth in multiple directions.
Yikes.
Right. The massive weight of the house wants to stay completely still because of inertia, but the ground underneath it is literally moving out from under it. So without strong steel anchors acting like tape, the heavy structure stays suspended for a fraction of a second while the base moves, and then it drops. The house literally slides off the concrete, or those short cripple walls simply fold over like dominoes.
Wow. Okay, that paints a much more destructive picture. And the mechanics of repairing a house that has dropped off its foundation, I mean, you're talking about hiring cranes to lift the entire structure back into the air.
Oh, yeah. Cranes, replacing shattered plumbing, severed gas lines, broken structural framing.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It is. It costs tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix. It is always far more expensive to repair a slipped house than it is to prevent it from slipping in the first place.
But doing that prevention work requires passing strict city inspections, right? You can't just slap some tape on the box. You have to follow the actual science of how the state recommends securing it.
Right. Now, the state of California doesn't force every single homeowner to proactively do this work, but they do provide very strong, highly regulated standards for how it must be done if you choose to.
And that's in the building code.
Exactly. It's strictly outlined in Chapter A3 of the California Existing Building Code.
Okay, and the industry term for this specific fix is bracing and bolting, right?
Right. It tackles the two major points of failure we just discussed. First is the bolting phase. This is where a licensed contractor drills into your concrete foundation and anchors the wood sill plate of your house directly to the concrete.
Using what exactly?
They use heavy-duty metal plates and massive foundation bolts. Sometimes they even use industrial epoxies to lock those bolts into the old concrete. This completely neutralizes the sliding risk.
Okay, so the bolts handle the box sliding on the table. But what about those short cripple walls in the crawl space? The ones you said fold over like dominoes.
That is where the bracing comes in. Contractors reinforce the inside of those vulnerable cripple walls by covering them in thick structural plywood.
I read that this creates something called shear strength, but I'm having a hard time visualizing how just nailing some plywood to wooden studs stops a whole house from collapsing.
It's all about geometry.
Like, if I push on the side of a square picture frame, the four sides easily hinge and it collapses into a diamond shape. Is shear strength basically like nailing a solid piece of wood to the back of that picture frame so it can't physically bend out of its square shape?
That is the perfect analogy. When the earth shakes sideways, those individual vertical wooden studs want to lean and snap. By nailing a continuous sheet of plywood across all of them, you distribute that immense lateral force across a wide, solid plane.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the wall can no longer fold or buckle sideways.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And the sources also mention one more crucial extra step in this process. It isn't about the foundation itself, but it's a massive safety hazard. Water heater straps.
Oh yeah, this is non-negotiable. Think about the physics of a water heater. You have 40 to 50 gallons of water weighing over 300 pounds, sitting in a tall, narrow cylinder. If that tips over during a quake, the sheer weight of it will easily snap the rigid gas line connected to it.
Yeah.
Now you have a massive gas leak in a house that might be structurally compromised, sparking a fire. Or you break the water line and flood the home.
Which is just adding insult to injury.
Exactly. Securing it with specialized metal straps into the actual wall studs prevents a dangerous situation from becoming a catastrophic one.
That's such a simple fix for such a huge risk.
Totally. What's fascinating here, though, is how structural engineers actually define the success of all this work. A seismic retrofit isn't designed to make a residential building indestructible. It doesn't guarantee you will have zero damage.
Wait, really? If I'm paying for all these bolts and plywood, it doesn't make that house earthquake-proof?
No, and that's a vital distinction for you to understand as a homeowner. For typical wood-framed homes, the specific goal is life safety.
Life safety, okay.
It's designed to resist moderate to strong shaking by keeping the structure attached to its base so it doesn't suffer a total collapse. You might still get cracked drywall or broken windows. The goal is that you can safely walk out the front door after it's over.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that is very different from the strict, highly complex engineering of a commercial high-rise, which uses advanced shock absorbers and completely different materials to stay pristine.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. We're talking about saving a house from a massive natural disaster, and the materials are basically just plywood, metal plates, steel bolts, and some straps.
Yeah, pretty basic stuff.
And the construction itself, once the permits are actually approved, often only takes a few days. So I have to ask, if it's that fast, what trips people up?
Usually two things: the bureaucratic nightmare of city permits and the upfront cost.
Let's tackle the money first,
Yeah,
because looking at the actual costs and the financial incentives available, I was genuinely blown away. It feels like a massive homeowner hack.
It is arguably one of the best-kept financial secrets in California real estate. Let's look at the baseline. A typical seismic retrofit job on a raised foundation usually runs between $3,000 and $7,000.
Which obviously depends heavily on the size of your house and the current condition of the concrete. But here's the crazy part. There are actual state grants designed specifically to pay for this.
There really are.
The main one mentioned is the Earthquake Brace Plus Bolt Program, or EBB.
Yes. The EBB program offers grants of up to $3,000 for eligible wood-framed homes built before 1980 with a raised foundation.
That's a huge chunk of the cost.
It is. And importantly, it even covers rental properties now, not just owner-occupied homes.
But wait, it gets better. If you meet certain lower household income requirements, there is a supplemental grant that can add an extra $7,000. That is up to $10,000 total.
which can cover the entire project.
Exactly. And then I noticed a totally different grant mentioned in the sources for a very specific type of house. It's called the Earthquake Soft Story, or ESS grant. I'm assuming soft story implies there's some kind of structural void, like a giant empty garage holding up a heavy second floor.
You nailed it. A soft-story home typically has living space built directly over a garage. Because garages need large open doors for cars, they completely lack the solid, continuous walls required to resist sideways shaking.
Ah, right.
They are incredibly vulnerable to collapsing flat. Because fixing a soft story requires far more extensive architectural engineering and steel reinforcement, the ESS grant offers a massive subsidy up to $13,000 to help secure them.
Okay, so you have thousands of dollars in state grant money available. But there's also an ongoing financial benefit when it comes to your insurance.
Oh, the insurance discounts are key.
Yeah, many earthquake policies, like those from the California Earthquake Authority or CEA, offer an annual premium discount, sometimes up to 25%, once your home passes a qualifying retrofit inspection.
And that is a key detail. The CEA relies on standards set by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The contractors listed in these grant programs must build exactly to those FEMA seismic retrofit standards, ensuring the structural work actually qualifies for those insurance discounts.
So what does this all mean? Let's do the math. If your retrofit costs $7,000, but you get a $3,000 grant, you're only paying $4,000 out of pocket.
Right.
If a 25% discount on your skyrocketing earthquake insurance saves you, say, $800 a year, over 5 years, this project has completely paid for itself. It is effectively free.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes a total no-brainer. We all know California home insurance costs have reached crisis levels in recent years. Securing a compounding 25% premium discount pays massive dividends over a decade.
Totally.
When you factor in the long-term savings and the massive increase in property equity, it completely outweighs the initial friction of paying a contractor.
But securing those grants and discounts means you have to pass strict city inspections. You can't just hire a neighborhood handyman with a drill.
No, absolutely not.
If they use the wrong bolt or don't space the plywood nails correctly, you fail the inspection and you lose the grant money.
Exactly. Plus, bracing the foundation is great, but a house is a complex system. You need someone who actually looks at the rest of the property to ensure safety, because raised foundations are not the only weak point.
What other hidden risks should you be looking for?
Well, you have to look at unreinforced masonry. If you have a brick chimney or fireplace built before 1995, it can easily crack or topple in a quake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, crushing the roof or falling on a neighbor's property. They often need their own specialized steel bracing.
Good to know. What else?
Then you have hillside homes. Building on a steep slope depends on incredibly complex retaining walls and deep friction pile foundations, which carry entirely different engineering risks than a flat lot. And we also have to mention post and pier homes.
Post and pier, what exactly does that look like?
They're very common in charming older neighborhoods. Instead of a continuous concrete wall running around the perimeter of the crawl space, the house basically sits on a series of individual wooden stilts or posts resting on little concrete pads.
Just sitting on them.
Just sitting there. They completely lack that continuous perimeter support, making them highly susceptible to shifting and collapsing.
So if you are dealing with a hillside property or a post and pier, or you need to submit complex architectural plans to the city to get your grant money, you need a team that speaks the city's architectural language.
You really do.
And our sources point directly to Cala builders. They hold license number 1156496, and they are the exact type of expert team you want for this kind of comprehensive property check.
Because Cala isn't just a foundation repair company. They are a full-service design-build firm.
And that distinction is huge. They handle custom luxury homes, massive hillside construction, full interior remodels, and they are industry leaders in the ADU space.
For anyone unfamiliar, an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. Think of it as a secondary, fully independent house or apartment on your same lot, like a backyard granny flat or a full garage conversion.
Right. And what really stood out in the sources is the deep, highly specialized bench of the Cala team. You're not just hiring one general contractor who subs everything out to strangers.
No, totally different.
You're hiring an entire in-house ecosystem of experts.
Having specialized experts under one roof is a massive logistical advantage for the homeowner.
Let's look at the scenario. Imagine you hire a solo guy to open up your walls to fix the foundation, and suddenly you discover a nightmare of dangerously outdated sparking electrical
Which
wires.
happens all the time.
Right. Normally, work stops for a month while you frantically hunt for a licensed electrician, but with a design-build firm like Cala, Shahina Tarafi, the lead project manager, just walks across the office and taps Elia Ebat, their in-house licensed electrician, on the shoulder. It's handled immediately.
That kind of synergy keeps projects on budget and on schedule.
Exactly. And looking at the rest of the roster, you have Mehdi Evadat, the owner, who brings over 30 years of elite construction experience to every job. He founded the company on the strict standard of build it right every time.
A great standard to have.
For sure. You have Argaban Ebadat, the senior lead designer, who translates your vision into architectural plans that are beautiful, but critically fully code compliant so they breeze through city permitting.
That is so important.
And you have Medad Mogharibi, a licensed plumber and project manager, ensuring that when those foundation bolts go in, your gas and water lines are perfectly secure.
That's quite the team.
It really is. Using a design-build firm like CALA is exactly like going to a general practitioner who can also seamlessly step into the operating room and perform your specialized surgery. You have the architecture, the electrical, the plumbing, and the highly complex hillside earthquake retrofitting all communicating instantly under one single roof.
This raises an important question for anyone listening who might be planning a renovation right now. Why do these projects in isolation?
Oh, that's a good point.
Consider the massive efficiency of doing a seismic upgrade at the exact same time as building that ADU in the backyard, or during a full kitchen remodel. You leverage one single project manager to navigate the labyrinth of city permits at once.
All right.
You only have to open up the walls once, you pour concrete once.
Oh, that is so smart. And because CLA's service area is massive, they have the infrastructure to actually reach you. They serve Los Angeles County and beyond.
Yeah, their reach is impressive.
Whether your home is nestled in the hills of Woodland Hills, Calabasas, or Encino, or sitting on a flat lot in Sherman Oaks, Studio City, or Burbank,
Yep.
or maybe you're out in Glendale, Pasadena, the wider San Fernando Valley, or West LA, if you are in those areas, they can handle the entire scope of your project, from the first design sketch to the final bolted foundation.
It really emphasizes why getting a whole house view from a specialized design-build firm is so incredibly valuable. In a single consultation, they assess the foundation, the soil, the cripple walls, the chimney, and let you know if you just need that bracing and bolting work, or if you can brilliantly bundle it into that larger property remodel you've been dreaming about.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time zooming in on the physical structure of the house, the physics of shear strength, the financial hacks, and the city permits. But as we wrap up this deep dive, let's zoom back out to the immediate safety of the people inside the house.
Because a perfectly retrofitted house is only half the equation. You still need to know exactly how to behave when the ground actually starts violently pitching.
The sources are very clear on the standard human protocol for an earthquake, and despite what you might see in movies, the science hasn't changed. Drop, cover, and hold on.
Yes. First, drop to the ground immediately. You want to drop before the earthquake physically knocks you down because the lateral forces will easily sweep your legs out from under you.
Makes sense.
Then, get under a sturdy desk or table, or crouch low against an interior structural wall with your arms tightly covering your head and neck. And finally, hold on to whatever is sheltering you until the shaking fully stops.
That last part is critical. The sources note a really scary, counterintuitive fact. The vast majority of injuries during an earthquake actually happen when people try to move around or run outside while the shaking is still happening.
The natural human fight-or-flight instinct is to flee. You want to run out the front door to open space. But trying to walk or sprint across a floor that is violently pitching back and forth is exactly how people shatter their ankles. Or worse, get hit by falling exterior debris.
Right, like those chimneys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about those heavy, unreinforced brick chimneys we talked about. They usually fall outward, right over the front door or walkway. You drop where you are. A retrofitted foundation keeps the heavy house standing above you, and dropping and covering keeps you safe from the loose items that fall inside.
It is so vital. Practice it a couple of times a year. Drop, cover, hold on. It sounds so simple, but it is the science of saving lives.
You know, all of this discussion about securing our older homes leaves me with one final, slightly provocative thought for you to ponder.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've talked extensively about how homes built before 1980 completely lacked the right foundation bolts. We've talked about how chimneys built before 1995 need special steel bracing. Building codes are constantly evolving because we learn painful, hard lessons from every major earthquake.
Definitely.
So, if we project this forward, what will the homes of 2050 require to stay standing? Are we just continually putting engineered band-aids on the outdated building techniques of the past century? Or is it time for the construction industry to completely reimagine and over-engineer the very materials we use to build for the future?
Wow. That is quite the question to chew on. When that everyday illusion of absolute permanence is tested by the Earth itself, you really do have to wonder if the cardboard box on the table needs to be redesigned from scratch, or if we just need to keep inventing stronger tape. Until we figure that out, make sure your house is bolted down. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.